All right, hey, this is Jesse with Create This. I promised back in probably October that I was going to do a D850, a Nikon D850 review. I did indeed purchase one the moment they came out. Mine arrived on August 19th, and I've had it for about 3 or 4 months now. I've been kind of spending this time to get used to it and see what I like about it and what I don't like about it. I'm filming this with the D850 right now in 4K, so you should be able to turn up the 4K settings on YouTube and get an idea how this thing films. I think I'm using the flat profile, and I usually don't mess with that too much, unfortunately. Some background before I get into my review. My first camera, my first DSLR was a Nikon D80. And I think that was like a 10 megapixel body, amateur body, not a pro body. And I think I got that in 2008. And I killed it taking this photo right here. I took it out in the snow, and it's not a weather sealed body, and it died. And so that was when I decided that I absolutely 100% had to have weather sealed bodies from then on. I overcompensated, and my next purchase was a Nikon D3s. Nikon, sorry. It's a 12 megapixel body. And it's a pro, like top-notch, $5,199 body when I bought it 7 years ago in 2010. And I used that for a number of years, and I don't know, I feel like my photography didn't really improve that much with it. I didn't really know why you would want the top-notch series with the integrated grip on the side versus the mid-grade, series without the integrated grip. And I discovered when I was using this that I really didn't need the extra speed. This is more for like photojournalists and sports photographers and things like that. So the next camera that I bought was a D810. This is the D810. And I bought this in 2014, and I had it for about 3 years. So this was a $3,296 body. I got really excited about the D810. I was kind of meh about the D3s. Even though it's a great camera, I didn't need the speed, and I didn't use it a lot. I was really excited when I got the D810 because it's something like a 35 megapixel or 34 megapixel body, and that is really like on par with 35 millimeter film. So I was really excited about that. So I used the heck out of this. I did some landscape stuff. I don't think any of my landscape stuff is in this room behind the camera, unfortunately. This is all 12 megapixel and 10 megapixel stuff. I should probably change that. But I love this body. And one of the things that I didn't like about it, it's got some weird oddities to it. It's got this pop-up flash. There we go. It's got this weird pop-up flash. Why would you want a pop-up flash on a pro body? It's weather sealed, great camera, but kind of slow. It only shoots 3 frames per second, and the D3s shoots 9 frames per second. So fast forward to 2017, a few months ago, I bought the D850. I actually bought it for the 4K functionality because I do, in the last 3 years, I've done a lot of YouTube videos, almost up to, I think, up to like 184 videos or something. Got a few out there. I really liked and enjoyed the video capability, and the D810 only does 1080p. So I really wanted a camera that did 4K, but I didn't want to give up my lenses because I really love my lenses. This is the 24 millimeter 1.4G that I'm filming with right now. I've got a 35 1.4 here, and then just to minimize the size of the body, I've got a 50 millimeter 1.4 here. So I bought the D850 for 4K, and I was absolutely 100% shocked that my favorite feature about the D850 is not 4K. My favorite feature about the D850 is that it shoots at 7 FPS without a grip. It is more than double the speed of the D810. And so I found myself in the last 4 months shooting sports and action a lot. And I think that's kind of coincidence because my partner and I, her son Parker does a lot of soccer. Our daughter is getting into dance. She does soccer too. We do fencing on the side. So it was kind of like an odd coincidence that like at the time that I got the D850, I was getting into like wanting to shoot more sports and action. And I actually haven't shot any landscapes with it. I'm sure it's fantastic at shooting landscapes, but so far I've mostly done portraiture and action. The D850 goes up to 7 FPS without a grip. The D3s is 9 FPS. With a grip, you can get the D850 up to 9 FPS. So that camera is literally as fast as the D3s, but instead of 12 megapixels, you're getting 45 megapixels, which is awesome, but introduces like this whole new world of pain, right? Because now you have to manage your file sizes. Holy crap, you run out of space fast at 45 megapixels. So what I found, I shot a soccer game with that thing and this. This is a 400 millimeter f2.8 VR. I got the VR model because it's the first model that has the weather sealing, but I could get it used for $5,000 instead of like 10 or 11 with the FL model. The FL model is the most recent one. It's lighter, but I can't afford it. And I did actually shoot in a massive downpour during a soccer game. So for about an hour, I shot unprotected with this lens and that camera, the D850, and it just survived brilliantly. Not a single problem. I immediately went out and bought a rain cover after that experience because I feel like I was pushing my luck. The weather sealing on any camera lens combination is not 100% perfect. If you shoot in the rain all the time, you're just asking for trouble. But it did survive, and it survived brilliantly. So I was very happy about that. I think I have probably a couple of sports photos that I can show on the screen right now. Probably Parker playing some soccer, kicking some butt. So the problem with using a sports lens like this, a 400 millimeter 2.8 with a D850, is you run out of storage space very quickly. So for one soccer game, this is like a kid's soccer game, I ended up shooting somewhere around 1,000 photos a game. Because you end up shooting in high-speed mode, you're shooting bursts, and you want to capture that high point of action that looks better than all of the other photos around it. And you're never quite sure where that's going to be. Our reaction times aren't fast enough as humans, so you can't anticipate the perfect time to press the shutter, right? It's not going to happen. Maybe if you're a pro and you've been doing it for a long time, you can, but I can't. So I usually hold down the shutter button as I anticipate action is about to happen, and then I release after the action has occurred. And somewhere in the middle of all that burst is the photo that I really want. You end up with a lot of photos, and you keep a fraction of them. I keep maybe a tenth or less. At 45 megapixels, I think I can only take, on a 64 gigabyte XQD card, I think I can only take 300 to 400 photos, full resolution. The great thing about that camera is when I don't need the full 45 megapixels, I can switch it to medium raw, and in medium raw, the images still have the same resolution. I'm going to put this thing down, it's heavy. The images still have the same resolution pixel-wise, but they have a different density. I think they're pixel binned, and so in medium raw, the raw image file comes up to 50 megabytes instead of 100 megabytes in high raw. At 50 megabytes with a 64 gigabyte XQD card, I can get about 1,000 photos, which is fine for a game. I usually have a little bit left over. I shoot maybe 800 or 900, something like that. The D810, you couldn't do that if you wanted full RAW capability. There was something wrong with the RAW format, and it lost a lot of its functionality when you would use like medium RAW or low RAW. But with the D850, it seems to work just fine, which is really, really cool. I love that feature. The buffer, the way I shoot, I mean, if you're just spraying and praying, you can run out of buffer no matter what you do. But the way I shoot for sports, the buffer on the D850 is nearly endless. I do short bursts here and there, and I have never run into the buffer wall. Never, not once. I've seen some other photographers complain that the buffer is smaller than maybe the D5 or something like that, but I don't know what you're doing because it just seems bottomless to me. It's amazing. There's a joystick on the back of the camera. On the back of the D810, there's just this D-pad here. And on the D850, there's a joystick right here. And the joystick allows you to pick your focus point very quickly, much quicker than the D-pad. I like that joystick. I love it. However, I think Nikon needs to take a tip from the Xbox people. The Xbox joysticks are clickable as well as movable, and so the center click on a joystick does something different than moving it around, right? On the Nikon D-pad, there is a center click button. On their joystick, they left out a center click. The only thing, and I'm not kidding, the only thing about the D850 that keeps it from scoring like 100% ergonomics for me, like perfect ergonomics, is that joystick. I think if they added a center click to the joystick and got rid of the D-pad entirely, or left it as a backup, I don't care, but made them do the same thing, like the functionality is identical, I think it would have perfect ergonomics. Because for me, the problem is, sometimes in the menus, I'll try to use the joystick and it doesn't work. It like cancels your menus anytime you move it around. So ideally, I would like to see the functionality mirrored between the D-pad and the joystick, and users just get to choose whatever they want, or just drop the D-pad entirely and add a center click to the joystick. But I love the joystick. It's definitely an upgrade. If you've never used one of the new joysticks on the D5 or the D850, you're in for a treat. They're really cool. The ISO button on the D810, the ISO button is here on the top left side when you're looking at the camera from the back, and so you've got to hold that down and then spin the wheels. That is really awkward if you're in manual mode and you're trying to change the ISO quickly. It's even worse on the D3s. On the D3s, the ISO is on the bottom in the middle, so you hold that down and you change the joystick, and it's even worse because the LCD shows up down here rather than up here. I really prefer having all of my information in one LCD rather than having it split between two. I don't know why they do that. The D850, in my opinion, at first I was frustrated because I got used to the ISO button being on the top left on the D810. On the D850, the ISO button is right up here on the right-hand side with all of your other controls. At first I hated it. After using it for about a week, it's the best damn thing ever. It's amazing because you can change your ISO, your shutter speed, and your aperture all from your right hand. I think the only thing that would make it better is for lefties if they would invert everything so that you could order a left-handed body. So you lefties are just crap out of luck, but yeah, it's great. Perfect ergonomics for the ISO button, I think. The 4K is good. I mean, you're looking at it right now. It looks great to me. It's not HDR. Sony's A7R III just came out. And I think it's got HDR and probably a bunch of other crap too. So, you know, Nikon is still lagging behind in my opinion. They're still like a generation behind, but at least it's got 4K. So if you're a commercial videographer, cinematographer, whatever, you're probably not going to buy the D850. Unless you just want it for like a personal camera body and you've got the lenses like I do and you just, you know, want to use it for like little one-offs here and there. You're probably going to go with the Sony Alpha. But for people like me, I'm just a YouTuber. I just do this for kind of semi-amateurish reasons. I make a little bit of money, but I don't make a lot. I love it. I think it's great. I've been wanting 4K ever since I bought the D810, and I think the 4K looks fantastic. It's full frame, so there's no crop factor with the 4K. I think that's great. I don't have any complaints. One thing that I was a little surprised about, pleasantly surprised about the D850 is the flicker reduction functionality has been improved, or at least it seems like it's been improved to me. When I was shooting Parker, his soccer practices, they have these big, you know, field lights. I don't know if they're sodium lights or what, but they're terrible. And the D810 could not handle the flicker from those lights. Every exposure was different. It looked like crap. The D850 handles it like a champ. And in addition, and I don't know if the D810 has this or not, but I noticed immediately there's a little flicker indicator that shows up inside the viewfinder. So you see that and you know, hey, I'm under lights that are flickering. I'm not sure why you would care so much, but it was kind of neat to see that. The Snapbridge functionality on the D850 is nice. The D810 does not have Snapbridge. I thought initially that I would be kind of meh about the whole feature, but I really love it. And the reason why I love it, what I do is I shoot in raw high on the D850, and then I shoot in like medium JPEG or low JPEG. And so what that does for me is it allows me to take a high resolution raw image that I can edit in Lightroom. And that's what I'm after, as a photographer, right? But the JPEG can be transmitted via low power Bluetooth to my cell phone very quickly. And so what that allows me to do is, if I have somebody that I'm taking a photo for, like my partner or a client or whatever, I can ship them a low-res version of the JPEG real quick and just show them, kind of the stuff that I'm getting. And I love that feature, because before what I had to do is I would have to bring my laptop with me and pop open the USB and download the image to my laptop and then export it as a lower resolution JPEG, and then iMessage it or text it or email it or something. And it was just a mess. It was an awful process. I hated it. So the low power Bluetooth via Snapbridge is great. The Wi-Fi I'm pretty meh about. It doesn't act as a client. So I have Wi-Fi in the house here. I can't connect that camera to my house Wi-Fi, and that sucks. What it does do is it allows it to be a host Wi-Fi access point. And so I can connect like my laptop or whatever to the camera, but then I can't access the internet on my laptop, right? So for me, that pretty much like eliminates any benefit that I would be getting from using the Wi-Fi. So I don't use it. I just use the Bluetooth. I use the low power Bluetooth because that allows me to still maintain my internet connection on whatever device I'm connected to. And I like that, but I don't like the Wi-Fi. I think the Wi-Fi is crap. I'm actually, while I'm filming this for video, in order to get the focus right and have a little preview, I use a Cam Ranger. And it's pretty cheap. It's like $300 versus like the Nikon. I think there's like a D7A adapter or something that's like $700 or something. I mean, it's way more expensive. It might work better, I don't know. But I've got the Cam Ranger, so that's what I use. And I have an iPad right here that has like my preview and allows me to autofocus on my face in single focus mode. So I just tap it and it focuses, and then I leave it for the rest of the video. The Cam Ranger works with the D850. When I originally bought the D810, the Cam Ranger didn't work for a few months, but the Cam Ranger worked instantly with the D850. It's always been a little buggy. It's still a little buggy, but it does work. When I'm using that, I can't use the internet on whatever device either, because it does the Wi-Fi thing too, and I have to connect to it. So, I mean, it sucks, but that's just what it is. I don't think that I can actually take video with Snapbridge over Wi-Fi. So again, totally useless for me. I like the Cam Ranger. I don't like the Snapbridge Wi-Fi. I do like the Snapbridge Bluetooth. Touchscreen. The D850 has a touchscreen. It articulates, which is just beautiful. It doesn't come out to the side. I do kind of wish that it came out to the side for YouTube vlogging purposes. It doesn't do that, but it does go up and down, which is great if you've got a tripod that's really low, or you've got the camera on a tabletop, as they are now. It articulates up so that you can look down on the camera and see whatever it is that you're focusing on. Or if you have a tripod and the camera is above you, you can articulate it down so that you can look up and see whatever. Great feature, freaking love it. It doesn't impact the water sealing or the weather sealing. It's fantastic. The touchscreen itself, I thought I would like this. I thought I would be super stoked about the touchscreen. I find I don't use it much. The ergonomic controls on the back side and the top side of the D850 are more than enough for me. I'm used to them. So I find the only time I actually use the touchscreen functionality is for quick zooms. You can double tap to zoom in on any point of the image. So the corner, the middle, the bottom, it's great. And also, you can drag. Once you're zoomed in, you can drag around with your finger and see different parts of the image. And so that is vastly improved over the D810, because with the D810, you can double tap on the D-pad to zoom in, but then if you wanted to move around and see if all the points in your image were in focus, you had to use the D-pad, and that took forever. So the touchscreen is a massive improvement in that area. But navigation in the menus, maybe you'll use it, but I don't use it. I just use the D-pad still. HDMI out is just vastly improved on the D850. I compared it between the D810 and the D850, And even for 1080p output, it's vastly improved, but it also outputs 4K. I use that feature all the time. What I'll do is sometimes when I'm taking a video in here, I will film a couple of tests. I'll film one test at f8, one test at f4, one test at f2.8, one test at f2, and I'll kind of just see, you know, is the grain acceptable? Is the depth of field acceptable? Is it distracting when the camera's blurry in front of me? You know, things like that. I can do that very quickly with the 4K HDMI out on the D850. I love it. It does have a weird HDMI port. It's got the same port that the D810 has, so it's this weird small HDMI adapter. Not a fan of that. You've got to buy an adapter. I lose mine, so now I have two. Because I found it again. But, you know, no big deal. It's just an adapter. It's like 12 bucks. I already touched on the lack of on-camera pop-up flash. Sometimes with the D810, when I was pulling it out of my bag, the pop-up flash would activate, snag on things. You don't need a pop-up flash. Nobody uses a pop-up flash on a professional DSLR. I don't get it. Apparently, Nikon doesn't get it either because they removed that from the D850. And I think that's fantastic because I doubt anybody ever used this thing. You know, the D3s doesn't have one. It's silly. It's a silly feature on a pro DSLR. The D850 has focus peaking. I'm actually using focus peaking right now with Cam Ranger. I don't know if you can see that or not. You can kind of see the red lines and stuff all over the place. That's focus peaking. I have that feature already in my Cam Ranger. I don't need it on a camera. It doesn't work maybe that great on the Cam Ranger, but it does work, and I've got a nice big screen, and you need a nice big screen to use focus peaking, in my opinion. I don't really like the way it works on the back of the D850. It's real small, it's hard to see, but the thing that really sucks about it is it doesn't work in 4K. It only works in 1080p. So considering that I bought the camera to use 4K, I probably won't ever use the focus peaking feature. You know, if they release like a firmware update or something that adds focus peaking to 4K, I might indeed use it, but otherwise, meh. There are a lot of external monitors, like 7-inch monitors, like the Atom Ninja. They usually have SSDs, and they'll record HDMI out from the camera to the external monitor's SSD, and they do focus peaking on a much larger screen. So if you really need it, that's probably the way to do it. I wouldn't worry about it in camera, it's not a big deal. Things that I don't like about the D850. It's a little heavier than the D810. I looked at the specs, and online they say that the D850 is a little lighter, but I weighed them, and the D850 is a little heavier. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Again, the Wi-Fi mode is pretty freaking useless to me. I don't like it. The joystick is sometimes confusing because I expect it to do the same things as the D-pad, but it doesn't. It only controls the focus point. All right, this is probably the worst thing about the D850. Lexar got out of the XQD business shortly after the D850 was released. So I got a 64 gigabyte XQD card for that camera there. I can neither afford a 128 gigabyte card or find one online available. And I just barely found a card reader. I use a Mac for all of my photo editing, and anytime a new camera body comes out, there's a lag between when Apple adds support, USB support for that camera, versus when the camera comes out, and it's like a 6-month lag, right? I can take the XQD card out of that camera right now. This is December 2017. I can take the card out of the camera and I can plug it into a USB card reader, and I can read the raw files from the card that way. But I can't plug the USB directly into the camera when the card is still in the camera and read them from Lightroom that way. Lightroom does, as of this date, have support for the RAW format for the D850. When I first got it, they didn't even have that. So that's been out, that's released, that's cool, it all works fine. But yeah, you're gonna have a hard time finding XQD cards. I think Sony still makes them, and you might be able to find some that are still drifting around, but they're probably pricey. So that kind of sucks. A lot of people are really complaining about that. The D810 Uses the older style compact flash card, which a lot of people really loved. I think my D3s also used the compact flash. So, you know, it's a bit of a departure going away from compact flash. I like XQD as a format. I think it's technically superior. It's very fast. It's very robust. It's fine, but until the manufacturing, you know, bits get sorted out, it's kind of a pain. Also, the battery grip for the D850 is always sold out. And the D850 itself, for months, has always been sold out. I think it was sold out when I ordered mine. So, and then I got it like a month later, or like half a month later. So they are doing batches, and like if you do a pre-order, they, you know, they do get your hardware eventually, but it's not like anybody's carrying stock or anything, because it's a very popular body. I guess that brings me to the final thing, because I mentioned the battery grip. If you use the LCD, technically I guess it's an OLED, if you use the display, like the live view on the back of the D850, it has a very short battery life. At least I think it does. Also, I'm not using the live view right now on the Cam Ranger, but I'm getting like maybe an hour of battery life, maybe 45 minutes or something right now. So there are things that happen with the D850. Maybe it's just video is a battery drain. It's not everything though. So when I do wildlife photography, for example, when I use this lens and I set it up on a tripod and I attach the D850 to it, I can leave the camera outside for literally days and the battery will never die. In fact, it'll only lose like a pip after like a day, if that, maybe not even that. So in sleep mode, when you're just using the viewfinder and you're not using the OLED display, it lasts forever, it's great. But when you're doing video or you're using OLED a lot, it does seem to drain the battery pretty quickly. So I think I will probably end up buying the battery grip, because I have three, this is one of the nice things. My D810, these little batteries, they will fit the D850. So I've got three of these laying around. But I don't like having to swap out batteries. I would much prefer to just have it integrated and not have to worry about it for a shooting session. The problem with buying the battery grip is the battery costs like $150. You got to buy the spacer. That's like another $30 or something. You got to buy the charger. And if you buy the Nikon charger, it's super expensive, but they have like aftermarket ones that are less than $100. So like maybe $80 for the charger. And I've used a few aftermarket chargers with Nikon gear before, and they usually seem to do fine. And then the grip itself is like $350 or something. It's fairly expensive too. So you're gonna spend $700 to like $1,000, depending on whether you buy like all brand name stuff or not, to get the grip. That'll give you 9 FPS, and it'll give you a much extended battery runtime, but it's expensive. So just be prepared for that. There are ways around that. I think they have like power adapters that you can buy where you can plug it into the wall and run off of wall power while you're running the camera. And I should honestly probably have one of those for these videos, because I don't really need to be mobile. I've always got a power outlet around. But so far I haven't bought anything like that, and I just use the batteries. Sorry, kind of a long video, but that's my experience with it. I love it. Here's a picture of a cardinal that I took out on the back deck with the 400mm lens and a 1.4 teleconverter. Probably my next video will be about teleconverters, because I've been playing with those a lot, so stay tuned for that. I hope you found this video interesting or useful. If you're interested in any of the hardware that I have here, I have links down below the video in the description. They're easy click-through links, that way you don't have to go searching for things. I do that as a service for you. They are commissioned links, so I do earn a small commission if you click them, but it doesn't cost you a dime extra, it just helps me support the channel. In closing, I think the D850 is an excellent camera. It is a jack of all trades. It does everything quite well. It's not maybe the best camera for video, but that's probably its only weakness. It's a really amazing camera. I would buy the D850 over a D500 for wildlife any day of the week, and that's another discussion. But just because it's a more versatile camera, I could use it in numerous other situations. If you can only afford one body, and video isn't a huge priority, or you're just doing YouTube, I think it's a great choice. Really, my only complaint about the D850, my only serious complaint, is I wish I had another one. That's it. Thanks for watching.